In our last section of the whole course, let us turn to the reproductive systems. Now, these are all the objectives, and as you guys know, the reproductive systems are what allow us to sustain the human race. Now, hopefully, most of you covered the reproductive systems in health classes in middle school and high school, and so this unit should be a review. The reproductive system, the goal is to make gametes or sex cells, and then also provide structures for those gametes to meet and allow for fertilization to occur. The female also has the added responsibility of growing and developing an embryo into a fetus. Now, keep in mind, sex and gender, these are different things. Sex, this is usually broken down into male and female, but there are as many as 1 in 100 people who are born with a difference in sexual development, where there is a difference in either the chromosomes or the anatomy that doesn't fall into a strict male or female category. This is because sex determination is complex, and it starts with XX or XY as a chromosome, and then that leads to a cascade of anatomical changes, both in utero as well as in the person as they grow and develop through puberty into adulthood. And there can be things that happen to alter the course of all of those steps along the way. For example, some people are born with an extra set of chromosomes, an extra sexual chromosome, and that alters their sex right from the start. Other people might have differences in those primary or secondary sexual characteristics, and so sex is not as simple as people think. Gender is also not as simple as a man versus a woman, so it instead exists on a spectrum, independent from sex, and is a person's conceptualized identity. Gender is a frame of mind, it's a construct rather than a hard and fast rule. With all of that said, let's briefly talk about the male and female anatomy. For males, we're looking at the gamete as a sperm, which is made continuously in the testes. And the penis is what serves to deliver that sperm into the vagina so it can reach the oocyte or the egg. Males have testosterone, which is the hormone that's responsible for primary sexual characteristics. Those are the actual sexual organs, like the testes themselves. And the secondary sexual characteristics, which are the things that develop in puberty and are indicators of an adult male body. So things like body hair in stereotypical patterns, for example. For females, the oocyte or the egg is our gamete, and this is made in our ovaries. And females, we're born with all of the eggs that we'll ever have. And our ovarian cycle starts with the maturation of one oocyte each month from puberty until menopause. In females, we have the vagina, which is for sexual intercourse, allowing for the sperm and the egg to eventually meet and fertilization to occur. This fertilized egg will then implant into the uterine wall, so we have structures there for developing an embryo, which will become a fetus. And so the female reproductive system has this additional function. The female cycle is controlled by cyclic hormones like FSH and LH. They rise right when ovulation occurs, when that egg is released, and then they will fall down. We also have estrogen and progesterone, which are additional hormones that help control our menstrual cycle. They will then also rise and fall, signaling to the body, let's build up a uterine lining to support the released egg in case it becomes fertilized. And then when fertilization doesn't occur, that extra lining will be shed as menses. So now that we've covered the systems of the body, I hope you can appreciate how complex the human body really is and how interconnected all of these systems are. All of our systems work together to help us move and think and do the human things that we take for granted every day.